Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us for today's AIAA Los Angeles very special event. My name is Ken. I'm the events program chair. Our session chair, Dr. Jeffrey Purcell, with Raytheon, is a little bit tied up these days, so he's not going. He apologized. He cannot join us today. So he asked me to welcome everyone and to start the event today. So basically, we'll have a few introduction. So for AIAA, so this is a great opportunity to build the bridge and reach out to each other. So that's today's program. So before I talk, let's first thank the AIAA National Office, which is located in Reston, Virginia, next to Washington, D.C. They kindly provide this very nice Zoom platform. So really appreciate. And this event is being recorded and it will be posted online. And all the registrants, attendees will receive an email for the link to the recording. If somehow got disconnected, please keep trying to reconnect. And if you have bandwidth issue, please try the dial in. In the confirmation email, there is a link. You can check the local dial-in number. So please sign in, use your name so people can chat each other. And those events are also networking events. So there's a good opportunity to network with each other. But for the question toward the speaker, please type in the Q&A or wait till the end of the presentation to be unmuted. You can click raise hand and you will be unmuted. You can start the interactive questioning or bring your comments to the speaker. So the security and privacy have been much improved, but please don't talk about any personal information or any sensitive defense or those kind of information. A few words about Los Angeles and Las Vegas area. As you know, this area is heavily aerospace populated. So we have company Northrop Grumman doing the James Webb Space Telescope, which is going to be launched very soon. Very exciting. And they also involve Super Hornet and the Growler, manufacturing and design, those things. And we have company doing sustainable aviation, hybrid aircraft, and the very exciting JPL, NASA JPL on the Mars 2020 Perseverance and Mars helicopter. And of course, SpaceX, very exciting International Space Station, Starships, Starlink, those things, and Virgin Galactic. And also people like Aerospace Corporation for defending us from the asteroid threats and also the space debris. And many students here doing very good jobs, and hopefully we can reach out, build a connection with the student branches over there as well. So we routinely doing event to keep everybody informed and network together. So for example, we have happy hour, then we have celebration for the Tuskegee Airmen, and for Africa, also have defense workshop and many things. So we're trying to keep everybody, engaged with AIAA. We also have newsletter opportunities. So you're welcome to submit your articles to us, and we'll review, and then we can post it. And you don't have to be a member to submit your articles. We have student articles and articles. Very top profile people. For example, Dr. Dan Raymer here is contributed several very wonderful paper article and some advice to the student, young generation as well. And we've also posted this in the AIAA channel on YouTube and also on podcast. Welcome to listen to those. And we also encourage aerospace art. And that include the photography and many different things. And you also got the chance to get member spotlight So for example, here you can see upper right, that's the Colonel Pestana. The upper left, that's our um, Michelle Rauch, is the section chair in Tucson AIAA section over there. And the lower left was our honorary fellow, Professor Speyer. So it's a good opportunity. And once you join the member, you can immediately start to log in and enjoy the Engage platform, which is free, and you can start to talk to AIAA member experts around the world. And they have mentorship page and the career opportunities there as well. And once you're a member, you'll receive the daily lunch from AIAA with a lot of insider stories and possible opportunities. And there's also the very great magazines, Aerospace America, free to all the AIAA members. And if you're a member, you enjoy great discount for AIAA conferences. There are different level of membership, but if you are a student, you enjoy discount for the transition rates in the first 4 years becoming the professional membership. And we also have educator membership, which is free. And if we're working in a company that happen to be AIAA corporate member, you might be covered for your annual membership fee. There are different level of membership. This is very good attraction and very good things for AIAA member. We encourage you to do good jobs, and you got opportunity to be nominated for awards and advance your membership level. For example, Dr. Daniel Raymer here is our very distinguished AIAA fellow. Then you can, people say, for example, the SpaceX, Mr. is our associate fellow. And Mr. George Whiteside of Virgin Galactic is also our associate fellow. And we recognize the membership anniversary in our events. So on May 27, we have a Mars 2020 Paris landing event. So we recognize a member with years of membership. So this we cherish the members, and please stay with us. So typically we also ask the new member to speak out during the event, but today, because it's a special event, so we'll go more directly go to the professor's presentation. So if you're a member, you got a chance to be nominated for the awards, publications, best paper, students, educator, lecture, many things. So, and even for your services. For example, this is another example. This is the Dr. Paul Bellavacqua. He was inventor of the F-35 supersonic V-STOL Strike Fighters engine. So he got nominated for the Daniel Guggenheim Medal Awards. This is Mr. Fujino of Honda, and he got the awards of AIAA, just for some example. And we also reach out for the Durham school system. For example, Ms. Khushbu Patel, who is working with his space right now. He's our STEM K-12 outreach officer to reach out to the school classrooms. And the AIAA have national forums. You can see all those 5, that these are our flagship forums nationally. And you got down if you are AIAA member. So as a local chapter section, we have been diligently providing the members and the public great opportunity to hear and listen and network to each other. So this event on April 17th, New Space Mini Conference, Dr. Dan Raymer presented his paper published earlier this year on his very exciting manned Mars airplane. He is getting international collaboration and recognition support for this effort. And we're also very exciting Juno talk by JPL speaker. And you just saw the news, very exciting, the flyby of Ganymede. And they see a lot of asteroid impact site. It's very, very exciting. And we have Virgin Orbit, and also we have clean aviation and Ingenuity Mars helicopter event. So upper left, Dr. Jeffrey Purcell is our section chair from Raytheon. And the lower left is Miss Mimi Ang. He is the director of the Ingenuity Mars helicopter. And the arrow lower right is the deputy director of the EDL landing team. And Dr. Jeff DeLong was a robotic expert in the team. He was operating and designing the Ingenuity Mars helicopter. So as you saw, there's a Wright Brothers field is ultra exciting. It's a landmark for aerospace. And May 15, we have Professor Jakowski talking about Mars terraforming and the climate atmosphere. He was the MAVEN spacecraft principal investigator. And in the happy hour, we have students presenting their 3D model design, and have many aerospace engineer and enthusiasts talking about their thoughts about human space flight, commercial space flight thing. Then we have this game-like semi-in-person meeting place, which is fun. So please join us. And June 7th, we'll have another one on the AIAA Los Angeles Las Vegas section. Mars space is virtual, but it's just think we are on Mars on the in the AIAA Los Angeles Las Vegas virtual base over there. And the nuclear propulsion is a very important topic. So we have several events, and the Colonel Schultes explained his experience with National Engineering and how to decide what's the criterion sending human to Mars with nuclear power. And May 27, as I said, we recognize several members with many years anniversary membership. And upper left, you see Mr. Alan Chen. He's the director of the EDL landing for the Mars 2020 Perseverance. You probably see him and another lady from India that they were all everywhere in the video for Perseverance. They talk about the landing difficulties and how to overcome them. Very, very exciting. And then that Saturday, we have former Boeing expert talking about how he went out to black box in any of the aircraft incidents, and he shared his experience of how to make aircraft safe. And then we also have emphasized the workforce. So we have these experts from Department of Labor and this robotic institute of the Industry Zero, and how to involve aerospace industry and worker into get ready into that direction. Okay, so we are really truly honored and pleased to have Professor Rajkumar Pant to speak to us today. He's a distinguished scholar over there. He's with Aerospace Engineering Department in the IIT Bombay in Mumbai, India. He has been a member of faculty of Aerospace Engineering Department at the India Institute of Technology, Bombay since December 1989. He has also worked for 5 years in Hindustani Aeronautic Limited in the Design and Engineering Department. Professor Pant is an alumnus of Aeronautic Cranfield University, UK, where he earned his PhD under Commonwealth Scholarship Scheme and the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, where he obtained his master's in aeronautical engineering. He has published and presented more than 245 scientific papers, of which more than 180 are in international journals and conferences. He was a visiting faculty for a year each at Nanyang Technology University in 2016 and Virginia Tech in 2010 to 11. He has also carried out several short-term assignments at several top-ranking institutes and universities all over the world, such as Instituto Tecnico de Aeronáutica Brazil in 2012, Texas A&M University in 2011, Cambridge University in 2008, and the Imperial College London in 2006. In 2012, he was appointed as special visiting researcher and the Science Without Borders program of the Brazilian government for a 3-year project. He was honored with the D.P. Joshi Excellent Teacher Award in 2014 in recognition of his merit, achievements, and enthusiasm for teaching and making lasting impression on students. In 2019, he was felicitated by Institute of Engineers, India, as an eminent engineering personality in aerospace engineering. Recently, he has received special recognition in academic excellence as in faculty national category award by Institution of Engineers in India. Also with us is Dr. Daniel Raymer. We got the invitation for successfully through Dr. Daniel Raymer's help. And he will talk a little bit about his interaction with Professor Pant. So Dr. Daniel Raymer is our distinguished AIAA Fellow. He's the president of Conceptual Research Corporation. And he is a recipient of the prestigious AIAA Aircraft Design Award. He's a recognized expert in the area of aerospace vehicle design and the configuration layout, computer-aided design methodologies, and design education. During his 10 years in the Advanced Design Department of Rockwell, previous North American Aviation, he conceived and did the layout design of Rockwell's entry in what became the F-22, B-2, and the T-45 program. And he was the head of air vehicle design for X from blank sheet of paper, CAD screen, to the configuration that flew with mirror fabrication-driven changes. His industry career includes position as Director Advanced Design with Lockheed, Director Future Missions at Aerojet Propulsion Research Institute, and a Project Manager Engineering at Rockwell North America Aviation. He also served as Research Engineer and the Aerospace Design Consultant at the famous RAND Corporation think tank. He's the author of the best-selling textbook, Aircraft Design, A Conceptual Approach, and the well-regarded layman's book, Dan Raymer's Simplified Aircraft Design for Home Builders. His newest book, Living in the Future, The Education and Adventure of an Advanced Aircraft Designer, cover his career and his design project, including most of those described below. Dr. Raymer has received both Rockwell Engineer of the Year and the AIAA Summerfield Book Awards, and was recently made Fellow American Basic Fellow of AIAA. I think it's not really, it's already a few years already. Dr. Raymer teaches a variety of advanced design short courses, including the well-known 5-day aircraft conceptual design short course, which has been attended by over 3,000 engineers to date. Dr. Raymer is often forum speakers at the EAA Air Venture Oshkosh. He received his bachelor degree and master engineering degree in aeronautics and astronautics from Purdue, and the MBA from University of Southern California, and a Doctor of Engineering degree from Swedish Royal Institute of Technology, KTH. He is also recipient of the Purdue University Outstanding Aerospace Engineer Award, when to honor those alumni who have distinguished themselves in the aerospace industry. Dr. Dan Raymer is listed in both Who is Who in America and Who is Who in Science Engineering. So let's welcome Dr. Daniel Raymer and Professor Pant.
Yes, hello everybody, and I'm terribly sorry that such a long resume of me was read. I didn't realize that would happen. Thank you, Ken. But this is Dr. Pant's day, and we'll get to him in just a moment. Let me just say a couple of words. First of all of you engineers out there, really join AIAA. You really should. It's great for your career, and it's also fun. And get involved with local section activities. Call Ken if you don't have any other idea, but get involved with local section activities. and then move your way into national activities like technical committees. It really is a great thing for your career. I was asked by Ken to give this talk, a talk about what they're doing over in India, because he knows that I've taught short courses over there and have some involvement over there. And my reply was, well, why have me do it? Let's get an expert to do it. And so I suggested Dr. Pant. And I've known Dr. Pant for 20 or 30 years, I guess. And he is heavily involved in aircraft conceptual design, lighter than air aircraft design, which you can see with the picture behind him right now, and all sorts of similar activities. And he's also been heavily involved with the AIAA. I see him very often at AIAA meetings. And he's extremely well connected over in India because he's a senior professor teaching aircraft design at one of the main universities in India. And they have a tremendous interest in aerospace. And so I think he was exactly the right person to give this talk. And he was able to get information and support from all parts of India. And I'm looking forward very much to hearing what he has to say today. So Dr. Pant, over to you, and we all look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you so much, Dan. It's always a pleasure to be with you. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to start off by showing you my presentation. Okay, so just a confirmation is needed that everything is visible. Then I can go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, right. Friends, a very good morning to those of you who are in the US. And I also see that there are a large number of my associates, senior members of aerospace industry in India, both working and retired, as well as some students. Today we are going to look at a collage of projects that are happening in India, and also we will try to peek at the future. The future, as you know, is very uncertain because COVID-19 is an example of something that none of us imagined would happen. Maybe 2 years ago, there was no inkling that something like this will happen. So therefore, I'm a bit wary about predicting what happens in the future. This is going to be the layout of my presentation today. I have decided to only focus on very specific aspects of the aviation scene or the aerospace scene in the country. And for those of you who are probably concerned that a professor is speaking to you from an institute, I have some good news for you that there are no equations in this presentation. It's only photographs and a few words here and there. So I'm sure that would reassure many of you. Let's take a little bit look at how the aerospace industry has grown in the country over the years. And based on my own understanding and appreciation, I divide it into two parts, the pre-1990s period and the post-1990 period. So if you look at the pre-1990s period, the aerospace activities in India were limited only to the public sector or the sector that is controlled by the government or companies that come directly under the government ambit. Okay, so mostly we were doing license production. There were a few indigenous design efforts, but very few and very limited. The whole focus was trying to get a proven airframe or a system from an established manufacturer and try to build it under license in India. And in the beginning of our association, we were having very strong and major partnerships with the Soviet Union. And almost everything was done in-house in any of the aerospace industry. So, we started doing everything in-house. Somewhere in early 1990s, the country actually underwent a change in our economic scenario. So the aviation sector was opened up for the private sector, but unfortunately, there weren't major projects till about 1993. So it was realized that the private sector will not be able to simply take up an activity and create aerospace products because they don't have any experience and they have not been really nurtured. So therefore, lot of public sector organizations began hand-holding the private sector by giving them small components and systems to be indigenized, and then slowly and slowly they acquired the knowledge and the experience and the confidence. The major aerospace manufacturing company in the country is Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, where I've spent 5 years of my career. The first 5 years of my professional life were in Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. And they also had sponsored my master's degree, so I am deeply indebted to them. They decided in early 2000 that a target of 30% of the outsourcing of its components to the private sector would be done. And that gave a very huge boost to the indigenous production. And I'm going to talk about a couple of projects which really pushed the envelope completely. So somewhere in the mid 2000s, it was realized that the public sector organizations would better be lead system integrators, whereas the components and sub-assemblies and maybe some assemblies would be better done by the private sector. So a nice public-private partnership sort of started to getting developed in the country. And that has led to a lot of involvement of the private sector, as I will talk about it today. Let's have a look at what kind of projections are there for the country, both in the aerospace defense and the civil aviation sector. Looking at the aerospace defense side first, the total defense budget of India has been constantly increasing, and I have put these numbers in billion US dollars in the red color for your own convenience, and the numbers in black are in the Indian currency. So you notice that from about 48 billion USD in 2016-17, our defense budget has climbed to nearly 1.5 times to 64 and odd billion dollars in 2021. And because of the precarious situation in which we are located, we might have to continue with the same kind of a trend. On the civil aviation side, there is also a consistent projection for growth of the civil aviation market in the country. Yes, there was a glitch in 2020 because of COVID-19, just like everywhere in the world. In India also, we saw a huge dip, but estimates are that in 2024 or so, we would recover back to the original growth. And in 2040, it's expected that there will be about 300 million odd foreign international travelers and 821 million domestic travelers. So the market will be pushed and driven mostly by the domestic market, and that is why there is a very clear initiative in the minds of the powers that be that we should go for addressing our domestic market requirements by indigenous development of aircraft, about which I will speak very briefly. So if you look at the aerospace companies in the India, these are the ones that came to my mind as the major contributors from the public sector, and I'll talk about each of them very soon. But as I mentioned, there are quite a few defense companies in the private sector which have started. With the limited time available and also with the limited information available to me, I am restricting to only these 5 or 6 companies today. But in the end, as I'm going to tell you, there are more than 100 startups in the unmanned aerial vehicle sectors. There are several startups in the private space and satellite sector. So let's first look at what has been done, what is being done, and what is planned by the companies which are in the government or the public sector. And we should start with space technology, because space technology is where India has made its mark globally. And the first agency I would like to talk about is the Indian Space Research Organizations, or ISRO for short. This was formed 21 years after India obtained independence in 1969. And till date, we have flown more than 110 spacecraft missions, and the book is very, very tight. There is a lot of entries in the plans. There have been 80 launch missions. There have been 12 student satellites, including the one from my institute called as Pratham, which stands for first. And now our team is working on what is called as Advitiya. which means outstanding, which cannot be duplicated. There have been 2 re-entry missions, and there have been also a launch of 342 satellites. We had a record of launching more than 104 satellites in one launch maybe a couple of years ago. ISRO is not a very large organization, keeping in mind the activities, around 17,000 employees, but it is heavily vested in the private sector, as I will talk about in the later stages. One of our very popular and very famous missions is the MOM mission, or the Mars Orbiter mission, which we call as Mangalyaan, Mangal being the Indian name for Venus, for Mars, sorry. So this is India's first venture in interplanetary space, which was launched a few years ago. And the idea was to go for exploring the atmosphere and looking at the morphology and mineralogy of the surface of Mars. And we actually tried a very, very innovative launch technique to reach the orbit. Okay. Now the plan is to go for crew module atmospheric reentry experiment, or CARE mission. This was the first suborbital flight which was launched in 2014, and there were many objectives of this mission, and those missions they are looking at flight validation, looking at overall integration of the system. So this is something that we are really looking forward to. The the bulwark of Indian space program actually happens to be the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, or PSLV as we call it. Then there was a Chandrayaan mission that took place recently. Unfortunately, 98% of the mission was successful and copybook and exactly up to what we were expecting. But we had a problem in the last phase, when our lander was not able to arrest its descent and land safely. So it was later on located, but we were not able to land the Vikram lander, and hence the Pragyan rover, which was supposed to move on the surface, also did not. However, that did not deter us, and we are back on schedule to take it forward, and there is a plan to go forward with this mission. Another interesting thing that we have done is developed our own regional navigation satellite system. It's our own local GPS, you can call it. This provides standard provisioning services, and I'm happy to share that now NAVIC is also compatible with many of the aviation operations in the country. So many of the airlines can also use NAVIC as one of their guidance schemes for approaching. There are many applications of our own NAVIC system, and we are very upbeat about it, and we feel that as we add more and more satellites, we are going to get much better and more accurate coverage, and this will be very much useful for our own strategic applications apart from the civilian applications also. Going ahead, we are very upbeat about our human spaceflight program, which was initiated in 2007, and it is expected that by next year or so, maybe it will be pushed a little bit further because of the current pandemic situation. The GSLV Mark III is our launch vehicle for this, and the spacecraft will be called as Gaganyaan. And many of my students, in fact, the chairman of ISRO currently is also an alumnus from our department, and there are many other students who are actively involved in applications both within the country and also abroad in the human spaceflight program. So much for the space program. Let's quickly go on to the aircraft technology, which is more an area in which I am familiar. In the aircraft technology, as I mentioned, the champion of aerospace industry in our country is the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, which was established as a private company in 1940, even before the independence. Seth Walchand Hirachand. It's the oldest and the largest aerospace defense manufacturer. It produces a variety of things. The landscape is very large, and as of last year April, it had around 28,000 employees. But HAL, I believe, is now on a hiring spree because a huge order has been received from the Indian Air Force to supply the indigenously developed Tejas aircraft. So after a long time, I saw that a large number of posts were advertised for young engineers to join HAL. As I mentioned, I've spent 5 years in this organization at two divisions. I started my career working on the transport aircraft division located in Kanpur, where we were manufacturing the aircraft that you see in the bottom, the Dornier 228, under license from Germany. And also we were looking at a few other aircraft about which I will speak. These products that you see in the screen are the ones which have been licensed production. Okay, but there are also several aircraft subsequently which have been taken up for indigenous development. You can see there are 3 helicopters, and there are a few more which are going to be shown. But I'll not go into the history of HAL because we are looking at present and future. The creme de la creme of Indian defense is the Tejas program, or the light combat aircraft. Okay, this was developed by the Aeronautical Development Agency, a special purpose company that was set up within the Indian public sector domain to focus on this single engine multi-role fighter aircraft. We were deeply honored to witness the first flight on 4th of January in 2001 in Bengaluru, and really it brought tears to our eyes because this project was actually thought of when I was a final year undergraduate student. In 1983 we started hearing about the Indian light combat aircraft, but there were many ups and downs, etc., etc. It's a long story, and finally we were able to see it fly in 2001. Now, this particular aircraft actually represents the resurgence or revival of the aerospace defense infrastructure as far as the aircraft is concerned in the country, and several new things and novel things were done. It was a huge gap to bridge. Before this, the only indigenous fighter aircraft that was designed by HL engineers was way back in mid 60s, and the Marut aircraft, and after that there were hardly any efforts to go for indigenous design. So there was a huge gap to fill, and therefore it took a little bit of time and it was very challenging. The person who is actually behind this project is also right now in the call with us. So I'll be very happy if there are any specific questions regarding LCA Tejas. I would request Dr. Kota, who is in the audience today, to take those questions. He will definitely be able to answer much better than me. But under his leadership, actually, we transformed the entire defense sector in the country. An example of that is how the whole country was involved in developing the required technology. As most of you might know, Bangalore happens to be the hub of aerospace activity in the country. And therefore, as you can see, large number of agencies from Bengaluru, as it is called now, were involved. But virtually every part of the country was involved, right from Chandigarh, where they developed the head-up display and other systems, and right to Hyderabad, Chennai. So you name it, name an institute of eminence in the country, IIT Kharagpur, IIT Bombay, IIT Kanpur, they were all involved, IISc Bengaluru. So this was the vision of involving the whole country into the development of an indigenously developed military aircraft. Now, built on the success of LCA aircraft, there have been many other activities which are happening. The current activity is the advanced AMCA, the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, which is a stealth multi-role fighter, and this is expected to be 6th generation aircraft, and currently the prototype is under development, and we are very hopeful that in a few years from now we would be witnessing the launch and the first flight of AMCA. We are also looking at an interesting development of the Tejas aircraft, which is the twin-engine deck-based fighter aircraft. LCA also has a naval version, but that's a modification of the basic LCA for the Navy. Here, this aircraft is actually a further development, and we expect it to be launched in about 4 or 5 years from now. Okay, so this is another very interesting thing. As you can see, it has got a hinge on the wing to fold the wing so that it can be accommodated, and there is also a canard. So this is another interesting project that is going to be coming. Now I'll move on to some of the helicopters which have been developed in the country. One of the most ambitious helicopter projects in the country, with hingeless rotor and composites all over the place, was the Dhruv helicopter. More than 300 have been built, very successful product. There are also some export orders for this helicopter, and there is a huge demand for it. So this is currently in service, and quite a few of them have been built. Rudra is an armed helicopter which is developed for the Indian Army. Then all these are activities. Then there is a light combat helicopter, which is a multi-role attack helicopter. This is also in service right now, and it's very popular in the air shows. I've seen several air shows in which we have seen the formation flight of the LCH. Then there is also a light utility helicopter, which is also in production, and this is essentially a utility helicopter. So we had an experience of fighting a war in the mountains in 1999, and based on the lessons learned and the limitations of the current helicopters, many design changes have been made, and a light utility helicopter has also been developed. Then we have Indian multi-role helicopter, which is one of our most ambitious current ongoing projects. This is expected to fly in about 6-7 years from now. What you see is a small mock-up of this particular helicopter. So these are some of the very interesting and upcoming helicopter projects in the country. All of these are spearheaded by experts in HAL. We have also made trainer aircraft, and I have worked on the ones on the bottom left and the bottom center very briefly. The SP-32 Deepak aircraft is an ab initio trainer. We used to manufacture this in HAL Kanpur when I was a young engineer, and then there was a turbo version of that, the HTT-34, and then HTT-40, which has been developed. HJT Kiran is basically our first jet exposure that our pilots get is on HJT-16 Kiran, but now there is an intermediate jet trainer also, which has been, so you see the success of one program automatically leads to improvement and shortening of the time for development and fabrication and production of successive projects. A very good example of that is HJT-36, in which from the conception to the metal cut, the time taken was, I think, just about 20 months, which must be a kind of a record. And all that thanks to the ecosystem and the research expertise developed as part of the LCA program. So that's how technological developments lead to improvements in the subsequent projects. We are also entering slowly into our own passenger transport aircraft programs. The one that you see on the screens is the SARAS project, which was an extremely ambitious project. It is an extremely ambitious project spearheaded by the National Aerospace Laboratory, about which I will talk to you very soon. The SARAS project envisaged to look at technologies which were very forthcoming, like you have a pusher configuration, you have a natural laminar flow aerofoil, you have a clean wing, and it has got many innovative features. Of course, there was a setback, like in every aircraft program there are sometimes setbacks. So there was a setback, there was an accident which led to the program going into a limbo for some time, but now it is back on the anvil, and we are very upbeat about this particular activity going further. HAL is also, we also worked on UAVs. Now these are not all from HAL. Okay, I'll talk about it a little bit later. The next organization I want to talk about, and I've already spoken to you a little bit about it, is the National Aerospace Laboratories, or NAL for short, which is also headquartered in Bengaluru. This is an agency which comes under the CSIR, Center for Scientific and Industrial Research. And looking at the number of employees, it's a very small organization for the kind of technological work that they do, which is actually very ambitious. NAL also has collaboration with a large amount of international agencies based in US, Russia, Czechoslovakia, Canada, China, Germany, USA. And also, it has got a lot of impetus now to look at these transport aircraft. So Saras Mark II that you see on the top is the resurrection of the Saras project, and that is what is going to be taken up now for our commuter aircraft program. And on the bottom we have Hansa, an ab initio aircraft that is meant to be used for pilot training in the flying clubs in the country. It's a composite airframe and a very ambitious design. The commuter and regional aircraft in India are currently, if you look at the landscape from less than 9 seats to more than 50 seaters, you will see that most of them are actually either, uh, either they are imported or they are perhaps built under license. For example, the Dornier 228 aircraft. Okay, but now we have all the design and manufacturing rights with us, and we are going in for civil certification. But there is going to be a foray in all these segments. So small GA aircraft, there is a Hansa which I mentioned to you, as well as the one of the private companies in association with NAL is developing a small 5-seater aircraft. And we are trying to now re-engine and refurbish HS748 old aircraft into a into a indigenously developed medium capacity transport regional transport aircraft. And in the regional aircraft, both turboprop as well as turbofan, we have a very ambitious project called as the Regional Transport Aircraft RTA. So that is what we are going to look at, and a lot of energy and effort is going to be spent in developing an indigenous aircraft for meeting our own requirements. As I mentioned to you in the beginning, the maximum growth is going to be seen within the country in domestic aviation, and many of the routes are actually going to be only short haul or medium haul routes, for which aircraft like the 50, 90, 70 seater are going to be the ones that will corner the entire market. And hence we are very upbeat on this particular activity. We have in the middle of getting approval from the government for a full-fledged effort in this area. So these are the aircraft about which I spoke to you. The Hansa aircraft, which is the general aviation aircraft, the CNM5, the 5-seater aircraft, the Saras, and the one that we are expecting, the regional transport aircraft, which is currently under the conceptualization stage. Moving ahead, NAL also makes designs and makes a few UAVs. There are a few which are very small, and we have done a lot of prototyping on that. There are also the classical quadcopters, octocopters, etc., which are being developed. Recently, NAL has successfully developed a composite frame mini UAV called Suchan. You can see it has a ground control station. They have their own autopilot called as the NAL pilot, and they have also developed the cameras. It's a DSLR camera without any mirrors or without any lenses. Okay, so such kind of innovative activities are taken up by our research laboratories. One more interesting development was a lightweight Wankel engine, a single shaft engine, which is used to power some of our tactical UAVs. And there are versions of that under development also. This also has been done by the National Aerospace Laboratories, the propulsion division. Moving ahead, let's now look at an organization called as the Defense Research and Development Organization, which was formed around 11 years after we gained independence. And today it's a huge organization with more than 50 laboratories spread all over the countries with a large amount. And also DRDO is one organization that is constantly and regularly hiring new engineers, because they are entering into various kinds of domains. Many of those things I actually cannot even talk about because of the strategic nature of the activities, but I'm going to talk about only what is publicly available. So let's first start with the technologies of UAVs. DRDO has developed a large variety of UAVs, and some of them are still under development. The one on the left, Lakshya, Fluffy, Abhyas, Ulka, these are 4 UAVs which are actually targets for various applications. Netra is a small quadcopter UAV which has been developed by DRDO in association with a company that actually is a startup company out of our institute, out of my institute. So we are very proud about that. Okay, I'll talk about it. Nishant, Pawan, Imperial Eagle, Kapotaka, Rustam, these are all UAVs. Okay. And Ghatak is a very interesting aircraft about which I'll talk to you. So Lakshya is the first of the targets which has a single jet engine mounted below, and it can also be used to carry the smaller targets, as you can see. When I started my career in IIT, one of the first research projects I did was on applying a technology of upper surface blowing, or USB, on an aircraft on a target like Lakshya to reduce its wing area. So very challenging project. Abhyas is another UAV which is a target. Netra, I mentioned to you about Netra. It's a surveillance and reconnaissance purpose, and the company which has developed it was in association with DRDO. Is actually, as I mentioned, a startup out of my institute. My students have actually played a major part in developing this UAV, and we are very proud of that fact that students of our department actually have gone ahead and taken up practical projects, taken whatever they learned in the classroom into real products. Imperial Eagle is a hand-launched UAV where we are right now working on developing a variation of this particular UAV with what is called as inflatable wings, so that we can easily pack this aircraft and carry it. Okay, that project is still going on. Nishant is one of the first UAVs that was developed in the country, and this one has been re-engined now with the Wankel engine about which I spoke. So there are many versions of Nishant. There is a wheeled version called as the Punchy. Again, we are working on that particular design. We are working on Punchy design to look at if we can increase its endurance by putting some kind of inflatable wing tips on that. That project is still going on. Rustam 2 is a medium altitude long endurance UAV which has also been flown and tested. Ghatak is the unmanned combat aerial vehicle. It was actually called as AURA, AURA in the initial years. Now this is a very, very challenging, very stealthy aircraft with weapons. So it's a UAV which will be armed with weapons, and really I can't talk much about it, but it's a very ambitious project and we are also very upbeat about it. Our department has played a lot of role in doing studies regarding this particular aircraft, especially one of my colleagues who happens to be an expert in predicting the stealth signatures. Moving on to the DRDO's missile technology. DRDO has developed a huge range of missiles. On the left, we see the missiles which have been developed under our so-called IGMDP program, which Dr. Kalam spearheaded, and under his stewardship and his able leadership, most of these have been developed. Okay, and on the right hand side, we see some other projects. Some are very ambitious and some have already been completed. So the first missile system I would like to talk about is the Prithvi surface-to-surface missile, and there are many versions of Prithvi with different ranges. In the center you see the Dhanush missile. On the right you see Agni. Even Agni also is, there are many versions of Agni, and one can actually look at the details. We don't have time today to really go into the nitty-gritty of each of these missiles. But what I would like to share is that the development in the space technology through ISRO in our country was directly useful in leapfrogging and developing advanced missile systems. So on the propulsion side, we were lucky that, and on the control side also, we were lucky that we had technology available from ISRO. But on the seeker and on the other complicated systems, our scientists and engineers really did a lot of yeoman service to the nation by developing these systems. Agni 2 and Agni 3, as I mentioned, are larger versions of the same Agni missile. Here you see them on a parade in the Republic Day or the Independence Day function. which happens in New Delhi every year. This is Agni 4. Akash is a surface to air missile, and it's a battery of missiles, which also is quite a successful one. Then we have a special beyond visual range missile called Nag, which is the anti-tank missile. And then we have Trishul also. Uh, Going ahead, we have this very interesting partnership between India and Russia, uh, named after two famous rivers in each country, Brahmaputra in India and Moskva in Moscow. So this BrahMos is a truly remarkable missile, which actually can be, and now we have integrated this missile on our aircraft as well as on several systems. So it's a very successful partnership between two nations. And Nirbhay is another missile which is very recently developed one. Then there are some other specialist missiles like Shaurya, Prahar and Barak 8. And the one which I want to talk about a little bit is the Astra missile, which is from, it's air-to-air missile. So it's a, very, very interesting product which makes our aircraft very lethal in air-to-air combat. So we are very proud about this particular missile, which was completely indigenously developed, designed and developed within the country. Then there are some other recent missiles, VLSR, SAM and QR SAM. These are SAMs. Okay, these are SAMs missiles. Now, the other most ambitious and most forward-looking project, which is the future, is the hypersonic technology development vehicle, because there is a plan to develop a hypersonic cruise missile in the country. What you see on the top right is essentially a rendered view of that particular missile, and what you see on the left is actually a model that was on display at one of the air shows in Germany. Exactly 2 years from now, from today, to the date, 12th of June 2019, was the first testing of this particular missile, which flew at a Mach 6. Okay, and recently on, I think, 7th of September last year, 2020, the testing of this missile was done attached to our launch rocket, and there was a 20-second hypersonic flight achieved successfully, and we are again very upbeat about this particular technology and this particular project, and this is going to eventually lead into the hypersonic cruise missile, indigenously developed hypersonic cruise missile. I like to move on to a few other companies which actually are providing ancillary support or electronic avionics support to our aviation program. They don't make aircraft, but they make avionics, radars and weapon system. One of them is the Bharat Electricals Limited, or BEL as we call it. It was founded quite a few years ago, but it was entrusted with the aviation related products, mostly the missiles and weapon systems. Let me showcase to you a few key products of BEL. The one on the left is a weapon locating radar, which is mobile, and the one on the right hand side is a battlefield surveillance radar, which is lightweight and portable. BEL has also produced a Doppler radar, which can be used for weather data prediction, monitoring of cyclones and other weather patterns, as well as for military and defense applications. And there is also a central acquisition radar, which you can see on the right hand side. Another company about which I want to speak, which also comes into kind of a partnership, is the Bharat Dynamics Limited, a company that produces ammunition and also the missile systems. Again, it's a small company, around 3,000 employees as of March last year. And BDL has developed an array of torpedoes and some indigenous missiles. For example, Milan 2T is an anti-tank infantry missile, and Concourse M is a wire-guided anti-tank missile which has got an aerodynamic optimization. So these are some of the products, and of course there is, as I mentioned, there is a lightweight torpedo. Let's now move on to some of the activities which are happening in the private sector in the country. And I must apologize that there are many more companies, but I really did not get time to put together all their information, and plus some of them are just upcoming. These are some of the major defense companies in the country which come under the private sector. The first I want to talk about is the Tata Aerospace and Defense, which started in 2007 as advanced system, because there was an earlier another company, but then it became Tata Advanced Systems, or TASL, in 2007. Basically, the aim of this is to go for the support to the Make in India program. It's a trusted partner to the MOD and the DRDO. They have developed small UAVs. They are now developing large unmanned system, and now they are going to be developing military radar. They are going to produce military radar. This is the first private sector company in the country to start producing military radars. It draws its expertise from the House of Tatas, which is by far India's most respected industrial house. Reliance Defense is a relative newcomer to the aviation sector in the country. They have joint ventures with Dassault Aviation, and now with this they have got a new activity of preparing the Rafale and the Falcon engine doors. They also have an association with Thales of France. They have successfully upgraded the glass cockpit for the HAL DO-228 aircraft, and now they are also working on design and development of indigenous systems. Okay. Mahindra Aerospace, as I already mentioned, have partnered with the National Aerospace Laboratories to jointly develop a 5-seater transport aircraft. They have manufacturing plants in Australia. They recently acquired some manufacturing facility in Australia, and they have also developed some infrastructural facilities in Karnataka in India. So they are also quite upbeat. Adani Defense and Aerospace has also shown interest in associating with various established manufacturers and trying to make India self-reliant. So they are looking at UAVs, small arms and ammunition, and aircraft services and MROs. And they have a lot of association with some other ecosystem partners. Plus, they have tie-ups with many countries worldwide. But the big daddy of the Indian private aerospace sector, without any doubt, happens to be a company called as Larsen and Toubro. Some people may think that this company is basically a foreign company with an Indian office, but no, it's a complete Indian company now, and its activities are actually touching almost every domain of the Indian defense sector. As you can see by this collage, which they have and I'm very happy that they have shared with me to showcase. So they are into ships, missiles, submarines, rocket, UAVs, tanks, you name it, and they are into it. And they're going to be one of the very big players of the aerospace sector in the country. There are many startups in India which are coming up in a big way. This slide is about startups related to the space. So there are some which are focusing on satellites, such as Dhruva Aerospace, about which I'll talk to you. There are some which are associated with launch missions like Skyroot, about which I will speak to you. And then there are some like, some subsystem suppliers which are associating and supporting these two launch and satellite focused companies. About the UAV, now I would need another 1 hour or so to talk about the emergence of the unmanned aerial vehicle ecosystem in the country, because there are more than 100 companies which have been set up in this particular area in the country, and so many of them, here you see a few of them, but there are so many of them which have come up, and every day we come to know about some company which has tied up or some company which has emerged to address this particular field. So UAV startups are coming in a big way because it is expected that the UAV market is going to be almost to the order of $1 billion in this country annually. Okay, so therefore there is a huge impetus to start unmanned aerial vehicles. I'll talk about a couple of private sector space companies, just a few of them, because of the paucity of time. Dhruva Space is a company which was founded just a few years ago, around 9 years ago, and their aim is to develop satellites, small satellites for the commercial, academic market and the government market. A lot of academic institutes in the country are interested in nanosats and student satellites. Okay, so the nanosat platforms, you can see they have helped in developing more than 6 small satellites and more than 5, sensors. Then there is Skyroot Aerospace, again started a few years ago in Hyderabad. Hyderabad is emerging as one of the key centers of aerospace ecosystem development in the country. It's also because of the fantastic infrastructure which is available, and also the ecosystem and the technological abilities of the people who belong to that particular area. So a lot of new development is happening in Hyderabad. This company is inspired by Elon Musk. They are looking at commercial launch services, but principally for small satellites, not for carrying passengers across the continents like Musk wants to do in SpaceX. They are looking at small satellites. If you look at their current capability, they are aiming at satellites from 225 to 720 kg in polar and low Earth orbits. This year they signed an MOU with ISRO, so now they will be having access to all the ISRO facilities, and that can leapfrog the development of private space ecosystem in the country. I would like to now move on to give you an idea. Just like the AIAA in the US, we also have some organizations and societies in the country that deal about aerospace. The primary society is the Aeronautical Society of India, of which I am a member and also very actively involved since the last 30 years. There is also an Astronautical Society of India. Both of these are related to aircraft and space systems respectively. I also will talk about two other agencies. One of them is called as the MRO Association of India, which is focusing on the maintenance, repair and overall business, and CRT. So I'll talk about these very briefly. So first, about the aerospace societies. The Aeronautical Society of India was founded just a year after our independence, and it is headquartered in New Delhi. It focuses on civil aviation and aerospace engineering, and it is a member of the International Council of Aerospace Sciences, the ICAS. And one of the special features of the society is that it brings out a peer-reviewed quarterly journal called as Journal of Aerospace Science and Technologies. This journal is geared up to allow aerospace engineers and aviation personnel in the country to share their knowledge. And if you look at the journal, you will find that even the people who are from the space community are now missiles, rockets, etc., helicopter. They are also publishing their articles in JAST. Okay, the Astronautical Society of India is principally driven by ISRO and founded in 1990 in Bengaluru. It's there in the ISRO headquarters. It looks at the astronautics part of the development and the space program. So unlike AIAA, which has both of them together, in India, so far we have two separate societies, one dealing with aerospace, the other dealing with the space program. The Astronautical Society of India is a voting member of the Institute of, I think, IAF Paris. Okay, and there are also a few other organizations. I'll talk only about two of them. One of them is CRT, very important because it was founded in 1991 at Bengaluru, principally driven by the HAL and the other Bengaluru-based ecosystem. It's an aerospace industry association. Okay, and it creates awareness about the business opportunities in aerospace in the country. It is the spokesperson for the industry requirements and all the technology development programs which take place. So it's a very interesting organization. The MRO Association of India is a trade organization founded in Mumbai, where I stay, about 10-11 years ago. The main purpose of this is to lobby for the MRO trade industry, because we have realized that huge amount of business is going away from India because we do not have a very good MRO infrastructure and ecosystem. So now things are changing slowly. This particular organization, thanks to the MRO Association lobbying with the government, they have been able to open up many inroads. The aim of MRO Association of India is to promote, stimulate, and encourage the advancements, and also they are raising funds for the training of expertise and manpower in the area of MRO, which will be needed as the industry booms. You will definitely need a lot of trained and certified manpower. Okay, as you all know, aviation is a very regulated activity, so everybody has to be certified. So therefore, it's very important to create a pool of resources to train the manpower, specialized manpower. Coming now to the last two aspects about my presentation, I'm going to stop very soon. I'll talk about some aerospace institutes in India which deal with education and research. So on the top are the 6 institutes in the country, including mine, where the best of the aerospace engineering students of the country end up in. The topmost institute in the country and now in the world for research is the the Indian Institute of Science. I'm very happy to share with you that recently it was given the rank of best in the world for research and technical contributions. IIT Bombay, where I teach, is ranked as the best engineering college in the country or the best technical institute in the country. IIT Kanpur, IIT Madras, IIT Kharagpur are also very well established. In fact, I have done my master's from IIT Madras. And IIST is a very interesting institute, a special institute set up by Department of Space, strongly supported by ISRO, where they focus mainly on developing the young manpower for the space program in the country. And interestingly, they don't charge any tuition fees. They only charge the money for the hostel accommodation. And the top students, of the batch, they have about 120 seats in the undergraduate program, and approximately 90 of them are directly appointed in ISRO as scientists as soon as they graduate. So this is a very beautiful initiative by the Department of Space to create an institute tailor-made for the space program. The second rung of institutes in the country which belong to the government sector are the Punjab Engineering College, where I did my undergraduate studies, and then there are a few other institutes. There is MIT, which is the oldest institute in the country to produce undergraduate aerospace engineers, and Dr. Kalam is an alumnus of this institute. We also have a Defense Institute of Armament Technology, DIAT, which is the deemed university, Defense Institute of Advanced Technology now it's called. And they are training the scientists from DRDO, as well as they are opening up to the other public. And then there is another institute in a place called Shibpur in West Bengal, which comes under the public universities. Apart from this, due to the fantastic growth in aviation and the projections, several private institutes have opened up in the country. There are so many that if I put their logos, I will require maybe 20 slides just to put the logos, because there are, I think, more than 200 of them, okay, which are there, which offer an aerospace. I have just chosen a few of them at random. I'm not recommending any of them as a preferred choice. I just put the list based on whatever I could manage. There are quite a few of them which have opened up all over the country. Okay, so this is just the landscape of the aerospace education and research in the country. And finally, I'd like to end by talking to you about a very interesting design competition that the Aeronautical Society of India has launched, based on our aim to develop the manpower, the trained manpower and experienced manpower in design for the country. So let me give you a quick background and name of NACDEC. It's a dedicated competition for aerospace engineering students. We are very choosy. We do not open the competition to other students. We only open it to aerospace engineering colleges. Uh, I'm very happy to share that this particular competition is inspired and adapted by the AIAA Team Aircraft Design Competition. When I was in Virginia Tech, I had the honor of supervising a team for this particular competition. I was very much impressed by the way it is conducted, and that uh, implanted a seed in my mind that when I go back to India, I'd like to start a competition, and that came to fruition in 2017, thanks to the design division of the Aeronautical Society of India, which is promoting this particular institute. And Dr. Kota is the patron of this particular activity. He is the one who drives this whole activity. We would like to encourage design thinking and systematic analysis in our students, and we would like them to tackle the challenging and futuristic problems. Okay, so we give them problem statements, and through this competition, they learn how to work in a team and try to address a problem. And also they get a chance to interact with some of our aircraft design specialists, uh, like Dr. Kota, Dr. Pait, Professor Sudhakar. All these people are very well established aircraft design specialists in the country, and they get to interact with them, mostly as judges. So just to give you a rough idea, we started the competition 2017-18, and the first problem given was a multi-role amphibian aircraft, which could be used for transporting passengers, tourists, or for the search and rescue missions in the offshore Bombay High. Recently, we had a very bad cyclone, and that cyclone created a lot of problem in that area. And I wish we had an aircraft like this available. Then next year, we went into a high altitude unmanned aerial vehicle for aerial mapping of the coastal line of the country. Subsequently, we gave them a problem of a high altitude platform for communications coverage. And right now, they are working on a problem which is to do with intercity electrical vertical takeoff and landing air taxi aircraft, or ICE VTOLA in short. So this is our foray into the urban air mobility sector. There are a lot of companies in India who are looking at urban air mobility in a very strong way, and inspired by that is what we are trying to do. So I think with that I would like to stop, but before I do that, I have a very pleasant task of thanking the people who have been instrumental in sharing the material with me and giving me some information and hints and pointers for today's presentation. So all of them are listed here. Thank you so much. Some of them I'm sure are also in the audience today. So thank you so much, all of you, especially Dr. Kota, for being with us throughout whenever we do any such activity. And at that, I would like to stop, and I would like to open up the floor for any queries. Thank you so much for your attention. I've been speaking now for more than about an hour and 15 minutes. I apologize if it has become a little bit long, but there is so much to cover and so much to share, and I apologize, I have to leave out many interesting things. But let's open up for any questions. Thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful. This is really very thorough and very exciting, very vibrant development in India. So Dr. Raymer, you want to say something, or you want to?
Just thank you so much, Dr. Pant. That was marvelous. Your presentation was excellent, and I learned a lot of things. So thank you so much. Fantastic.
Thanks, Dan.
Then, so if it's okay, we're going to start the Q&A. So you are also highly welcome to comment if you see something you would like to say. So let's start with Mark. So Mark, go ahead. Oh, Mark, oh, you say your microphone is not working. So his question is basically, he's asking if there's any manned mission, like landing Indian astronaut on the moon. Can you comment about this? If any upcoming Indian manned missions?
Yes, there is a plan to do it. The Gaganyaan mission basically is for that purpose. Earlier, as is prudent, we would first like to fly by and do an orbiter and then eventually land. So yes, there is definitely a plan. but not in the immediate future. I mean, the Gaganyaan is the one that is the most one. Okay, any other point? There are a few people who have asked questions in the chat. But let's open the floor for verbal questions first.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you share your PPT, sir, just now in what you have explained now?
There is a slight problem, sir, because a lot of material has come from the organizations about whom I spoke. But I believe AIAA is going to make the recording of this PPT, this particular session, available online. So I would not be able to share the presentation unless I take an explicit approval from all these agencies, which will take time. But the PPT will be available in a recorded version on the AIAA website. Isn't that right, Ken?
Yes, yes. Yeah, recording will be shared with your permission.
Yeah, recording, I don't have any problem. See, when I spoke to them, I said that recording is something that will be done, so we cannot stop it. But sharing of the material, I don't know. And that is why I even told AIAA that I will get back to you later.
Okay, well, we'll do that. Okay, so the next question is by Ashwani Sharma. So could you go ahead, Ashwani? You are unmuted. Ashwani, go ahead. Okay, that doesn't speak out. Okay, so let's see. Braxton. Let's see. Next question is from Braxton. Braxton, go ahead. You should be able to speak out.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please go ahead, Flexen.
Sir, what are the internship opportunities are available for the students in aeronautical engineering? Like I have just finished my second year.
Oh, there is absolutely no shortage of internship opportunities. The only problem is if you write to the industry, many of them have some regulations regarding, you know, not giving access to people who are not cleared. But now what has happened is, I know, for example, that HAL is actually proactively offering internships. When you look at private companies, they are actually more open to give internships because they need a lot of manpower to work on the nitty-gritty of their projects. So it will be easier for you to get internship in some of these private companies rather than in many of these public sector companies. And also you can try some educational institutes. I take a lot of interns. I mean, as I speak to you today, I am supervising something like 18 interns working with me on different aspects. Okay? So faculty members take a lot of interns and through them they explore newer and newer areas. The second option would be some private companies. And I can help you in that. If you can send me an email, I'll be very happy to help out with suggesting to you some internships.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm from MIT Manipal.
No problem. So you can contact me via email and I'll be able to help you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so next is Mr. James Reddy. So Jim, go ahead. You can speak out.
Hello. Just a quick question regarding that Skyroot company in India. Are they kind of planning on being the SpaceX of India? Or do they plan to do something similar to Starlink?
Not exactly. I was just mentioning that in jest because see they are only focusing on launching small satellites, and as you saw, the largest that they are aiming is around 720 kilograms. Okay, so I don't think they are right now planning to launch human beings in space and they are not planning to do something like SpaceX. But yes, they are looking at recoverable rockets eventually, not now. Right now, they are working on disposable rockets, but they want to enter into the private sector ecosystem of rockets. Right now, all the rockets that are made in the country are made generally by ISRO, by the Indian Space Research Organization. They are aiming to enter into that particular ecosystem.
Well, does the Starlink and the communication satellites for Starlink, is there any company that wants to get into that area with thousands of low Earth orbit and mid Earth orbit satellites?
Yeah, so they are looking at low Earth orbits and also polar orbits right now, but for small satellites.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot,
Okay.
James.
Yeah, thank you. So the Ashwani Sharma, are you ready?
Maybe you
Okay.
can just type your answer in the chat if you're not able to connect the audio.
Okay, Ashwani asked a question. You said, Professor, you have described in detail excellent progress in airframe development. Can you share what is the status of jet engine development in India?
That is a serious problem. I was discussing today with an expert, and the development of jet engine actually in the country, especially for military aircraft of the class of our Tejas aircraft, has lagged behind. Now, there are several reasons for that. I mean, I don't want to get into all the nitty-gritty because as I mentioned to you, it will require another lecture, not by me, by an expert, by other experts who are more knowledgeable about what is lagging. But the reality is that unfortunately, we have not been able to develop our own indigenous military class jet engine. That's a fact. We have not been able to develop. And it's not easy also. So we have to give a lot of consideration. It's easy to say, but the kind of investment that is needed to kickstart and sustain an indigenous engine development program is far more than what an aircraft program needs. Uh, uh, if you look at, for example, China, the amount of money they are spending every year in creating a jet engine, and they are still very far away from one. So it's not easy, and it needs sustained and huge investment and a very strong and a clear mandate with accountability and with responsibility.
Okay, so there's a question for say, what is the scope of AI, ML, I think it's artificial intelligence and machine learning in avionics industry in upcoming future?
Huge scope. I mean, I just cannot tell you what is going to happen in the future. I mean, AI and ML are going to revolutionize the way in which we are going to operate, maintain, design, and service the aircraft and the aircraft components. So we have started working in that area. We are newbies in that area. I mean, I am myself a newbie in that area, but I've just launched a PhD um, project with one of my students on the application of AI and ML. There was another question in the chat which talked about lighter than air systems. I mean, because many people know that I work in that area, they were expecting probably. Kedar has asked that question. Can you please give some information on LTA vehicles research that are specifically catering to high altitude regions? Kedar, I would suggest that you separately contact me because I've done some work in this area and I would like to share it with you, but I didn't want to. But unfortunately, we do not have yet an industry in the country on LTS systems right now. All the activities are limited to only research laboratory, there is one research laboratory under DRDO called as ADRDE in Agra. They are the leaders in the country in developing aerostats, and now they are also making airships. They are the champions in the country. But there is nobody I know of in the private sector who has the ability. There are many companies who are interested, and I am working with some of them who are trying to bring in that particular technology in the country. But the fact is, we don't have it right now. So,
Okay.
shall we take some questions from the live audience in the text?
Yeah. I basically enable them to speak out.
That will be better actually.
Yeah.
All of
Okay.
you who have asked questions in the chat window, Ravi Deepak and Shubham Haldar, etc., SB Prithvi, better you just ask your questions verbally.
Yeah. Please click raise hand. So I think it's better you can speak out. So I think there's SB Prodivi. Could you speak?
Yeah.
Could you speak out? Yeah. SB, go ahead. SB, can you speak out?
SB Prithvi, you can go ahead and speak.
Well, he didn't, but okay, he's asking, sir, is there any particular platform for students where we can share our innovative idea?
Well, there are many, but I would suggest don't share your innovative ideas. I would suggest if it is something really innovative, why don't you first patent them? And then, because if you share innovative ideas, you are actually losing a potential IP opportunity. Your intellectual property is going to be lost away. So my suggestion is, if you have a really innovative idea, try to take it to patenting. Okay? And then once you patent it, you can always share it with anybody.
Okay, so I think the next question is Manish Tripathi. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Manish, go ahead.
Yeah, hello, sir. Sir, firstly, I would like to thank you for such a great presentation. And sir, basically, my question was that because of the increasing demand for unconventional aircraft technologies, for instance, the solar power technology and the electrical power technology, do you have any comment regarding this particular future of aviation technology? Like
Yes, yeah, what you say is right. Actually, the future of aviation is going to be sustainable aviation. And as you saw, even before our presentation today, Ken had mentioned about a very interesting event that took place organized by AIAA about sustainable aviation. See, that is the buzzword now. I mean, people are interested in creating aviation systems that do not pollute the atmosphere, and they leave a very small carbon footprint. Okay, if possible, zero emissions, but at least very low emissions, and that is also the aim of the NASA, next generation transport aircraft program, etc. And so many companies have done it. See, what is happening is that even though the polluting effect of aviation today is only about 2% of the total emission, total pollutants, but one problem is it happens at an altitude where there is a ozone layer, or whether ozone layer can cause a problem. That is number one, and number two is that it's only going to grow. Okay, creation of the clouds because of the contrails itself is a lot of problem. It's giving you 3 times more carbon dioxide emissions as compared to even the fuel emissions. So there are a lot of initiatives all over the world, and electrical aircraft is one area which is upcoming in a big way. So we are also working in that area. Many companies are trying to develop electrical aviation, and we are also working in that area through a PhD student who's going to design. We are looking at India's regional transport aircraft. One of the possibilities could be to make it either hybrid or fully electric if possible. We don't know right now, but it's a dream to create aviation systems which can pollute little or no.
thank you, sir.
Okay, next question. What are the further developments of ISRO's reusable launch vehicle?
Well, ISRO has a very long and ambitious program. Uh, Currently, one of the projects which I should have mentioned is the reusable launch vehicle, or RLV. I should have mentioned about that. I could not do that because of the becoming such a large presentation already. So reusable launch vehicle is one very, very ambitious program of ISRO, and the GSLV and the PSLV are going to become the bulk of their heavyweight launch vehicle programs, and there is a continuous improvement in these projects. Uh, Weight reduction, increasing the propulsive capability and efficiency. So there are so many such initiatives which are happening. We are working for ISRO on two interesting projects. One of them is to try and explore Venus atmosphere using a phase change balloon. And also there is a proposal to fly a very large aspect ratio UAV on Mars for surveillance. So there are many such projects which are going on. They will be attempted, they will be taken to a particular level, and then later on, if it is successful, they will be implemented.
Okay, great. So next one is Ravi Deepak. Ravi, go ahead. Ravi, you're welcome to go ahead.
Hi, thanks, Ken. Yeah, and thanks, Dr. Raymer and Dr. Pant, Professor Pant. It's great to hear all the progress, and it sounds like very exciting to be over there right now. I was wondering if there's any opportunities for international cross collaboration with your institution, especially for like a future prize in the design, build, fly of the experimental test aircraft, such as lighter than air vehicles or eVTOL.
Yes, yes, 100%. There is. See, IIT Bombay actually is very much open to MOU. We have more than, I think, 50 MOUs already with universities and institutes all over the world. And when you have an MOU, then the exchange of students and the faculty between the institute becomes very easy. There are preferential facilities available. For example, in my institute, there is a special wing of a hostel which is reserved for the foreign students, so that they can be given the level of comfort and facilities that they are used to. And also we also cater to the food requirements of the foreign students. So we have gone and made a lot of arrangements, and there is a dean of international relations in our institute, whose office is always open to such suggestions. And as regards collaboration, so we already have many collaborations with several other institutes. I have myself supervised exchange students from Portugal, from Germany, and we get a lot of people from many African countries, and also from the US and the UK. So we do have a lot of interaction already. There are students who come for a semester exchange program, and we do transfer of credits. Moreover, our students also can spend one semester abroad, and we do equivalence of courses. As regards working together on these international competitive projects, yes, there is going to be, you mentioned about lighter than air system. Let me just tell you very briefly. There is going to be something called as a World Solar Airship Race, in which an airship will be a solar powered airship has to be flown from a coast of South Africa to a coast of Brazil. And we are now trying to set up a team for that, and we would be delighted to associate with other universities in the US or elsewhere who would like to partner and associate with us. So the answer is yes. I'll be sharing my email in the chat window. I'll be very happy if any such association could be attempted.
Great, thanks. So the next one was from Prasad. Prasad, go ahead.
Good evening, Professor Pant. This is Prasad. I'm an alum of Indian Institute of Science and from Aerospace Engineering Department, and currently I work for NASA here in the U.S. on their Mars Space Launch System program. I'm supporting the hardware in the loop simulation. So someone like me, I'm really excited to see the aerospace industry growing in India. What is that I can do to contribute? What is the engagement process? Who would I contact, or where do I start?
Okay, very nice to hear from you. There was recently an initiative by the government of India called as Vaibhav. Basically, um, this initiative, there were I think something like 15-20 verticals in the aerospace sector, 15 verticals. I remember because I was on maybe 2 or 3 of them. So in that, what we did is the government of India reached out to people like you who are having Indian origin and interest to work with ongoing projects in India. And on all these verticals, there were around 10 to 12 experts who were talking about what is happening. So I'll be very happy to share with you what transpires, and also take it forward. There are many avenues available for associating, and the government is actually going very much ahead in creating such relationships and nurturing them. There is a plan now to also create some funds for lateral mobility of short-term associations, etc. I have just sent you my email address in the chat window. I have sent you a direct
Okay.
email. Please get in touch with me. I'll be delighted to take it forward. In fact, I'll share my email for everybody. Anybody
Okay.
who has any query can definitely contact me. I would love to interact.
And Professor Pant, what is this? Could you spell the organization name? You said web something. Could you spell it for me?
Vaibhav, VAI, it's not an organization, it was just an initiative.
Okay, okay.
VAIBH, I'll send you a mail about that. I'll
Oh,
share
sure.
with you
I'll
the information.
contact you via email.
Sure.
Thank you very much for
Okay,
your time.
thanks a lot.
Okay, there's a question in the Q&A box. How would you suggest an aerospace and aeronautic aspirant to proceed further in their field if they really have some their own research pointed towards these fields?
All right, so the first thing that you should do if you have a real research pointed toward this field is either you should publish your work in one of the AIAA conferences or any other conferences where you can share your work with other experts. If the work is of really good quality, perhaps you might be able to extend that into a paper in a journal. That is a way in which you will be able to get a lot of leverage as well as visibility about your work, and that will be very helpful for you to take it forward. So since it's an anonymous attendee, I don't know from which country you are and where you are, but I would suggest that you take it forward in the form of a nice publication at a suitable conference. And I must tell you that AIAA conferences are excellent for that. You get a lot of chance to network with. That is why, as Dan was saying, I'm also a member of AIAA, by the way, and I try to always attend these conferences. There is one happening very soon for which we have submitted a bunch of papers. It's there in, I think, first week of August, and the papers are due by 22nd of June. So yes, we are very actively involved in associating with people.
Okay, so the next question is Suga-san. Can you speak out? No, Professor, I don't think he can speak. Can you see his question?
Yeah, he talks about CATS Warrior aircraft, which is being developed by HAL. I'm actually not aware. I'm not aware about something called CATS Warrior aircraft. So I really don't know.
Okay, don't worry about it.
The next question is by Prudvi. Are electric aircraft a boon or a curse? Definitely they are a boon. Definitely they are a boon because they are the ones that allow us to sustain our aviation activities without damaging the environment.
Okay, next
Mark
question.
has a question regarding the role of space research in preparation for military conflict with local adversaries such as China. Okay, so yes, but I'm not really very much in favor of this space race or military race because there is no end to it. There is actually no end to it. What is more important, according to me, is to create facilities and systems so that we can tell our adversary that, look, we have our defense mechanism. So if you try something funny, we are defended. Because otherwise the race is endless. You do something, they will do something more, and then where do you stop? So according to me, it's more important to focus our infrastructure, our funds, our resources into developing this civil aviation and use our defense activities as a kind of a defense mechanism. Right. Anonymous attendee wants to know, are there a lot of India political considerations in the assignment of aerospace contracts? Well, I must tell you that it is not just in India. All over the world, aerospace project contracts, because of their big ticket value, they are very much prone to, political considerations. And also remember one thing, after all, a political consideration need not be only for any, personal gains. Political considerations could also be to keep in mind the safety and the security of the country in the long run. So therefore, many a times decisions are taken in the best interest of the nation, may not be completely in the interest of the local commercial considerations, but it could also be in terms of long-term strategic implications. So that's why many times, people don't understand why a particular contract has gone to a particular company or a particular country, because they forget that a defense contract which spans over a lot of time and it has got severe security implications of strategic nature. There is also an importance of how politically well connected the two countries are. Namanuddin has a question. Is there an opportunity for solo human flight like Jetman and Gravity Jet Suit? Why not, Namanuddin? The Jetman and Gravity Jet Suits are basically an example of solo human flight. But right now they are very expensive and very limited in the duration. So if you want to look at sustained human flight, then we have to wait till the discussion, till the technology goes into that particular area. Okay, are there any more questions?
Yeah, there's a Saura. I think he typed a question in the Q&A.
Okay, I'll just look at.
Let me see.
There is a new question which has come from one of the persons. What prerequisite softwares and skill does one need if we want to go into the field of designing aeronautical structures and possibly big projects like space settlements? Okay, so what you need basically, of course, you need to have access to some softwares. To all students who are interested in astronautical structures and big projects like space settlements, I mean, if you go into astronautical structures and space settlements, that goes more into architecture. So you may like to get your hands steady on certain architectural softwares. But if you are interested in, for example, just conceptual sketches for a new configuration of an aircraft, I would strongly recommend a software which has been now developed by NASA free of cost called as OpenVSP. VSP stands for Vehicle Sketchpad, and OpenVSP is a free software which NASA has made available to anybody, openvsp.org. Very quickly you can use OpenVSP to create aeronautical type conceptual designs, and it also gives you things like wetted area, maybe drag estimation to some extent it can also give you, and you can couple it to some other analysis software. So I would recommend very strongly that people should learn OpenVSP. And since we have Dan Raymer also in our session, I would strongly recommend that you guys try out his RDS student software, which is a very excellent software to get to the grips of aircraft design, and it's not at all costly. It's available now with his textbook. It is available as a package. So we have seen our students literally enjoy the aircraft design process by using RDS student, and I will recommend everybody to acquire a license of RDS student, which is now sold by AIAA directly.
Okay, next, I think Aditya
Yes,
Canada. Go ahead.
Hello, sir. This is Aditya from India. Sir, being an undergrad student from like the college from India, we find that we lack certain skills which we find difficult when we are applying for chances abroad and even while pursuing masters. So, can you suggest a few technical skills which have become a mandatory in research field nowadays?
Okay, that's a very good question. Very good question. So look, if you ask anybody from the aerospace industry in India, whether it is HAL or NAL or DRDO or ISRO, They always say, oh, we are looking for good aerospace engineers. But there are so many aerospace engineers available. But why don't they hire them? Because unfortunately, what you learn in your institute may not be what they need. And what they need actually cannot be even taught so easily in the institute. So what you need to do as a student is to develop very good fundamental knowledge about the basics of aerospace structures, aerodynamics, propulsions, control and design. Okay, you should be able to and for that, Aditya, I would recommend, if you are an aerospace engineer, I would strongly recommend that you should make a team and take part in the NACDEC competition. Go and check online www.nacdec.org. Look at what designs other previous teams have submitted. Look at the problem statements. And maybe next year, if you have not taken part, create a team from your college and take part in the competition. Because that competition will actually address many of these questions. It will make you do all these things in a fashion that is geared towards solving a problem. And in the end, if you do a good job, you will be shortlisted and then you can present your work to experts. And I know many students who say that thanks to NACDEC, we have got a very good aerospace engineering job, because when we were interviewed and we told about our NACDEC work, we were greatly appreciated. So, you need to go beyond the classroom and acquire knowledge and skills for all these basic aerospace engineering subjects.
Okay, I think Kedar has a question previously about Himalaya ranges. So Kedar, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I've answered that question. I
You
told
said
him that,
okay.
I've
Okay.
already answered. There is a question from Manushi Gupta.
Yeah.
She wants to know what is the driving force behind startups to make a significant change in the aerospace industry. Yeah, the driving force. See, if you get cowed down by agencies like NASA and ISRO, which are government funded, then you will not be able to really compete. You're not be able to fight them. See, the the driving force behind startups in space program or aerospace program is innovation. Innovation. They are able to come up with concepts or ideas which will be very difficult for these big organizations to take up. Remember one thing, when you have a big organization like NASA or ISRO, they have several chains of command and they also have some kind of a inertia. Of course they are open to new ideas, but the whole mechanism of getting something through is time consuming. Okay, yes, they have done some initiatives to open up ideas of the young people, but there are limitations. But when you are in a private company, it's very easy for a person to try out and check out some innovative ideas. But of course, you require deep pockets if you want to work in aerospace sector. So Saurabh Bagare has asked a question: if you were asked to establish an aerospace startup on your own, what kind of startup would you personally establish? Well, I would focus on a startup in which I have the required amount of domain knowledge. It so happens that in the last 20 years, I've been working mostly on LTS systems or UAV. So logically, I would not go into helicopters or I would not go into any other area where I have zero expertise. I would not like to start a missile or a space program. I would like to contribute more into the area where I have some domain knowledge and some experience and some contacts. Because to succeed in a startup, you also need contacts. You also need to know people who know people who know people who can get you projects, who can get you the market access, as well as who can get you funding and finances to push up your project. So I would stick to areas where I have domain knowledge. Mohammad Rizwan has asked a question: how to collect space debris? Well, that's a very difficult thing to do. It's very expensive to collect space debris, and unless there are some charges levied by the international space organizations on every company that throws away space debris, uh, you know, it's very difficult. So there is a company in Japan, a startup company in Japan, who wants to go out there in space, collect the debris, and bring it down to Earth. Okay, but I don't really understand today what is their commercial model. Astroscale, yeah, that is the one. I don't understand what is their model, commercial model. Who is going to pay for this? unless it is made compulsory, it will be difficult to justify commercially sending out an orbiter in space and then collecting space debris and bringing it back. Another way of doing it is to bring it down into the lower Earth orbit and then it will burn on its own. That's another way. You deflect the space debris from outer space to lower space, and once it enters the atmosphere, it will just slowly burn out. But again, that is going to contaminate the atmosphere if you do in a large scale. So that doesn't really solve the problems.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's one question in the from anonymous. Would you like to, or you feel it's too long? That's also space debris problem.
Yeah, it's the same thing actually. The question is, how is space debris? How is ISRO coping up with this problem right now? It's very difficult to answer this because actually, honestly, there is no pressure on anyone to bring back your space product. So what ISRO is doing mostly is trying to, actually, I don't know. I don't know the answer on exactly what ISRO is doing. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much. This is really amazing. And Professor Pant provided a very detailed overview for the vibrant program and answer all the detailed questions and inspiring all the students. So we really appreciate. So let's thank Professor Pant again. Really appreciate. It's a wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much, and thanks to Dan for giving me this, giving a suggestion about calling me. It was really a pleasure, and I'll be very happy. I'm a member of AIAA, so I will be very happy to share my views. I would actually like to sometime talk about the lighter than air systems, which I could not cover, and which many people in the audience seem to be interested in. So maybe down the line, I'll be very happy to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know your schedule. I will be more than happy to arrange.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Anytime.
Yeah, okay.
So if I'm allowed to,
folks in the US, enjoy your weekend. For us, the weekend is almost halfway through.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Dr. Raymer. Also, thank you so much.
And thank you, Ken. Great job organizing it.
Oh, great pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, then. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And just again, the recording will be posted after the event, but not the slides. The recording, the video will be posted on AIAA website and AIAA YouTube channel. So thank you very much again for joining us today. So look forward to your participation for future AIAA Los Angeles Las Vegas section events. And please do also look into the information about AIAA membership if you are interested. Thank you so much. And if any question, please, we'll stay on a little bit. You can feel free to ask. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great pleasure.
So there are a couple of hands raised still. So,
yeah, Aditya, I think you raised hand afterwards. Do you have another question? Aditya?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I just want to ask, like being an undergrad student, we do have a lot of spare time that we can invest. So I had one question, like, is it a wise choice to invest time on the ongoing project just to contribute our part towards development, or else is it good to take up some new projects such that a new concept could be introduced in the field of research?
Aditya, very good question. I always suggest to students that they should take their work to a logical end, not just start something and do it half-heartedly and then leave it and jump to a new project. So what is the logical end of a project? See, when you do any study or any research, the logical end of that activity is it should end up either as a patent if it's a totally brand new idea, or it should end up as a publication. The publication could be in a conference, or it could also end up into a journal. So unless you take your activity to one of these levels, actually it's not over. And entering into newer areas and trying out newer and newer things is like a master of none and jack of all. So my recommendation to students is that you take up some activity, you take up a project, take it to a logical conclusion, and only then move to some other project rather than jumping from one to the other. Okay, Ashwani Sharma, you can now ask your question, sir. Ashwani ji. Somehow your audio is not coming.
Yeah, Ashwani's audio doesn't work.
Yeah, although his mic is unmuted, but unfortunately there is a connectivity issue, looks like.
I think Manish raised hand before the end of the presentation. So maybe Manish, do you want to say something again?
No, sir. There was a technical glitch, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess that's it. Unless
Yeah,
there's
I think we
somebody.
can call it a day now. We have already crossed, I think, the 2-hour period. So it's not a good idea
Sorry for
to
that. Yeah.
engage people on a Saturday morning. Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. And for all of you who are in this side, a very good night. And for those on that side, a very good day.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor. Yeah, for, with the topic, the lighter than air, just let me know that, the description.
Sure. I'll let you know. Yes.
We'll arrange. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, you're a really great professor. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
You too.
Thank you. So that was a great session. Have a great day.
Oh, thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you for the
Thank you for
session,
joining
sir.
us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this session.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.